Good evening, I'm Ashley Campbell, live right now. Hundreds of supporters in Aiken just leaving a prayer vigil honoring conservative activist Charlie Kirk. He was killed in a shooting in Utah last Wednesday. The vigil was at Hain Avenue and Lawrence Street in Aiken, and that is where Ethan Hunter is joining us now live. What can you tell us, Ethan?
Yeah, the event just wrapped up, but you can see behind me a lot of people still lingering around outside of SRP, the SRP building here in downtown Aiken. But there were a lot of speakers. South Carolina Representative Taylor was here. He spoke for a good amount of time, just about bringing the country together. That was really what the message was here today, bringing the country together. A lot of Christian and religious beliefs shared as well, a singing of Amazing Grace and readings from the Bible from a couple different pastors at area churches, really trying to continue the legacy of Charlie Kirk, make his memory known, that people are still thinking about him and trying to carry on his work. One interesting thing, right at the end, they announced that Turning Point USA will reinstate its chapter at USCA here in Aiken. So there's going to be a Turning Point chapter here at USCA once again. I guess that had previously been a thing, no longer, but now it is coming back. So really just a group of people that are energized by Charlie's words and very saddened about his death, wanting this political violence to end, Ashley.
Yes, I know that he said he wanted to be known for his religious beliefs, and that's obviously probably why so many church members came out, because earlier the crowd was just huge. Talk to me about that. It had to be a little overwhelming because we did not expect it to be that crowded.
Yeah, well, we were live at 6 o'clock, and I was actually at the front, had to come all the way back through the crowd, and I brushed past about 30, 40, 50 people just myself through one straight line through the crowd. So a lot of people here, I mean, over a few hundred, and it was standing room only to the fullest extent. People shoulder to shoulder. I saw a lot of people raising hands in the air in praise at certain prayer moments, kind of people just leaning on each other, people crying on each other, really that visual kind of prayerful feeling that you get. And I think that was really what was important for the people here today, community. It felt like there was a lot of people that were feeling like their beliefs were felt here amongst the crowd. And also another thing that, as you mentioned, some of Charlie's, what his words were, they always said to be bold is what they kept saying here. Be bold in your beliefs. And I think that that was a gratifying feeling for those that came here today, just feeling like they are a part of that community that believes in what they believe.
Yeah, and this is just a prime example of just how important he was to so many people, especially on the conservative side. He was instrumental in getting, young people out to vote during election time with that Turning Point. So it's nice to see that they're going to be opening that back up at USC Aiken. That's a big announcement there.
Yeah, it was. It kind of came at the end. There was a representative from Turning Point here that I guess made their voice known that this was going to happen, made it up the chain of command, and then one of the event moderators right at the end said, right before they sung Amazing Grace, which is what took the event out, they said they're reinstating this chapter, and a lot of cheers, a lot of waving of American flags. I wish that you could still see, I mean, you can still see behind me some of the American flags that people have. I mean, almost everybody has some sort of flag with them, but when they announce those big moments like Turning Point, returning to USCA, like some prayerful moments where everybody knew the words, a few other moments that just really got the crowd riled up. Those flags were just waving through the air, and it looked like one continuous stream of American flags. So a lot of people here, and those big moments, I guess, is really what I think made this community feel like they were together. This communal cheering kind of happened, and that moment was definitely one of them, a big thing that I'm sure we'll keep our eyes on as that chapter starts to develop. I'm sure it'll take a little bit of time to get going, but USCA going to get that a chapter of Turning Point.
Yes, and there have been vigils all over the U.S. There's one just yesterday in Georgia, and now we're over on the other side of the river here in Aiken. To have that many people, and I know you've already talked on this, but just to drive it home, that sense of community, those hundreds of people all coming together for this man who has obviously touched so many people.
Yeah, and I talked to people as well, and they all told me that, you know, some of them, actually the first woman that I talked to when I got here waving a big American flag right in the center of the crowd, about 30 minutes before the event started, she said, I had never really listened to Charlie Kirk before. You know, he's trying to reach young people. I'm a little bit older is what she said, and I had never really paid attention to him, but now in his death, I've gone back and listened to his words, and I believe wholeheartedly in what he has to say, what he had to say. And so I think that's a sentiment that a lot of people had, because Charlie's big message was towards younger people. So kind of the older people finding in his death that they can listen to and learn from his words, that was something also that brought a lot of people out, you know, almost feeling like they had not known about it as big of a big of a deal as it was before his death, and now trying to carry on his life through events like this, and just really hammering home that unity piece that they want to see the country unified, that this political violence has to end, and that, you know, these two sides it doesn't have to come to this. We can meet together. That was something that I heard from a lot of these people here, but like you said, a lot of people here in general, and as they're all walking away here tonight, I think that that community will kind of stay going online in some sort of way, is what the sense that I got from the organizers and the community that were here.
Well, you mentioned online. We have seen it. You were, you know, with me when this all happened, and we were seeing all these Facebook messages at, you know, just people pouring out for support for the family, for him, and it was just a sight to see. A very I mean, that pouring was just immense, and behind you is a prime example of that. So not just on social media, but people gathering right there in Aiken. I do want to point out that a massive memorial is set for Kirk this Sunday, with thousands expected to gather inside State Farm Stadium in Arizona, and that does include President Donald Trump. I mean, he's even touched the president before, you know, so he's definitely made a big impact all the way around.
Yeah, he has, and to your point, kind of when we saw that original news and the outpouring on social media, that's kind of continued, and there were there have been vigils in cities all around the country, and you see pictures from that, a lot of people coming out to support that. So how that will continue to develop and how that community will continue to gather, in what ways they're going to do that, you know, after this memorial kind of area is over. What will come out of this, I think, is what a lot of people here were wanting to know, and that was what the event organizers had a lot to say about, is just that need to keep this community together. Some of the church leaders that spoke as well, saying that this community can kind of continue in their churches as well. So where we're going to see this after the memorial, that's going to be something to look for as well.
About the suspect, tomorrow is when formal charges are expected to be filed in this case, so we'll also see what comes out of that. And but tonight it was not about the suspect, it was about remembering Charlie. So we appreciate the coverage. I'm going to go ahead and take a break and hop over on the anchor desk at 7 o'clock on NBC, where we're going to have more coverage for you. Thanks a lot for that, Ethan.